The cry at midnight. The night was quiet. Ethan sat alone inside his small wooden house on the edge of the colony forest. The wind outside was cold and sharp. The fire in his old stone fireplace crackled softly. It had been a long day working the land, and his back hurt. He leaned back in his chair, sipping warm tea. Suddenly, a sound broke the silence. It was soft, but strange. A cry. Not a human cry. Ethan froze. He put down his cup and stood up slowly. The cry came again. It was weak, high-pitched, and full of pain. He grabbed his old plasma rifle from the wall. He didn't trust the nights here. Wild animals sometimes came close to his farm. And since the new colony government allowed alien settlements nearby, some people had seen strange things in the woods. Ethan walked to his front door. He opened it carefully. The cold wind hit his face. At first, he saw nothing. Then he looked down. There, on his doorstep, was a small bundle. A cloth blanket wrapped tightly around something. It moved. It cried again. Ethan knelt down. He slowly opened the blanket. His heart stopped. It was a baby, but not a human baby. Its skin was light purple. Its eyes glowed a soft silver. It had tiny claws instead of fingers. Its body was thin and shaking from the cold. Ethan looked around quickly. Who left this baby here? Was it some kind of trap? He saw something else in the blanket. A piece of cloth. It had writing on it, but not in English. The letters glowed faintly, and there were bloodstains on the edge of the cloth. Ethan's soldier instincts kicked in. He had served during the last frontier war. He knew when something was wrong. This wasn't a normal baby. Someone had left it here on purpose. He picked up the bundle gently and brought it inside. The baby was cold. Very cold. He put it near the fire and wrapped it in another blanket. It cried weakly, its eyes staring into his. "I don't know who you are," Ethan said softly, "but you're not dying tonight." He heated some milk and tried to feed it with a small tube. At first, the baby didn't drink, but after a minute, it started sucking slowly. Its crying stopped. Ethan sat there, staring at the little alien baby. What kind of mother leaves her baby like this? Why his house? Was she still nearby? His thoughts were interrupted by a soft noise, something moving outside. He turned his head. Through the window, he thought he saw something. Just for a second, a shadow moving between the trees. He stood up quickly and grabbed his rifle again. He stepped outside, scanning the darkness. "Who's out there?" he shouted. No answer, just the wind. But he could feel it. Someone was watching. He walked around the house, checking the shadows, the corners, the forest edge. But there was no sign of anyone. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling. His instincts screamed danger. But another part of him felt something else. Sadness. Whoever left the baby didn't do it out of hate. They did it out of desperation. Back inside, the baby had fallen asleep. Ethan sat near it, watching the small creature breathe. "What am I going to do with you?" he whispered. He had always lived alone. No family, no visitors, no noise. But now, his life had changed in one night. A baby, an alien baby, was sleeping in his house. And outside in the shadows, someone was watching. Ethan woke before sunrise. He hadn't slept much. Every sound outside made him sit up and grab his rifle. But the baby slept peacefully in a basket near the fire, wrapped in warm blankets. Its strange silver eyes had finally closed after hours of soft crying. But Ethan knew something was wrong. He had felt it all night. Someone was out there, watching. He stepped outside with his rifle. The early morning fog covered the land like a blanket. The trees at the edge of the forest stood tall and still. But Ethan's instincts told him the forest was not empty. Suddenly, a flash of movement. Something, or someone, ran through the fog. Ethan chased after it. He moved fast and quiet, his boots soft in the wet grass. His eyes searched the mist until he saw it again. A shadow, low to the ground, crawling, limping. Ethan followed, keeping his distance. Then he saw her, an alien woman, thin, weak, and covered in dirt. She crouched behind a rock, breathing hard. Her skin was the same purple as the baby. Her arms were scratched, her clothes were torn, she was shivering. Ethan raised his weapon. She didn't run. Instead, she turned toward him slowly. Her eyes, glowing silver just like the baby's, locked with his. "Don't shoot," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Please." Ethan lowered the rifle but didn't put it away. "Are you the one who left the baby?" Tears filled her eyes. "Yes." "Why?" She looked down, her face full of shame. "I had no choice," she said. "I was being hunted. I thought, if I left her with someone kind, maybe she would live." Ethan stayed silent, his heart pounding. The woman was in terrible shape. Her legs were cut and bleeding, her fingers trembled. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra." Ethan looked her over carefully. "You're lucky I'm not like the others," he said. "Many humans wouldn't have even opened the door." Lyra nodded slowly. "I watched. From the trees. I saw you feed her, warm her. That's why I came back. I didn't want to leave her forever." Ethan lowered his weapon completely. "Come. With me," he said. "You'll freeze out here." She hesitated, then limped toward him. She could barely walk. He offered his arm. She took it. Back at the house, Ethan helped her inside. The baby opened its eyes and squealed softly when it saw her. Lyra rushed forward and hugged her child, holding the baby close, whispering something in her native tongue. The baby stopped crying and relaxed in her arms. Ethan watched them silently. Mother and child, both alone, both nearly dead. Lyra turned to him. "Thank you," she said. "Don't thank me yet," Ethan replied. "You've brought danger to my door. Who's hunting you?" Lyra's eyes darkened. "Slavers," she whispered. "They raid dying worlds and sell survivors. I escaped their ship with my baby. But they followed me. I hid in the woods. I saw your home. It looked safe." Ethan stared into the fire for a moment. "You're not safe here either," he said. "If they find out you're here, they'll burn this whole farm down." "I know. Then why come back?" Lyra looked at her baby, "Because I'm her mother, and I couldn't leave her alone." Silence filled the room. Then Ethan spoke. "You can stay, for now. But if trouble comes, we fight together. Understand?" Lyra nodded. "I will fight," she said, "if I must." And for the first time since the baby arrived, Ethan felt something new. This wasn't just about helping. This was war, and it had already begun. Lyra sat near the fire, her baby cradled gently in her arms. Ethan handed her a bowl of soup, thick, hot, and made from the last of his root vegetables. She took it with shaking hands. Her alien skin looked dry and cracked. Her eyes were tired but filled with something new. Trust. Ethan sat down across from her, arms crossed. The fire crackled between them. "Now tell me," he said softly. "What really happened to you?" Lyra looked down at the baby. She stroked the child's soft purple cheek. Then she began. "My world was once green and full of light. My people lived in peace. We didn't have weapons or armies. We didn't need them. We were farmers, healers, singers." Her voice cracked. "But then the sky changed. Black ships appeared. Not for help, not for trade. They came for slaves." Ethan leaned forward, his jaw tight. "They took the strong ones first," Lyra said. "My husband, my brothers, anyone who could resist. Then they burned our fields and took the children." She paused, her eyes watering. "I ran with my daughter. We hid under broken houses. We crawled through dead rivers. We stole food from the slavers' camps. I killed one of them to escape their ship." She looked up at Ethan. "I thought we were free. But they followed me across the stars." Ethan was silent. He had seen war. He had lost friends. But hearing this, it was different. This wasn't war between armies. It was war against families, against mothers and children. "You came here alone?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "My ship crashed near the hills. It's gone now. I walked for days. When I saw your farm, I waited. I watched you feed your animals, saw you talk to your dog with kindness. That's when I knew. If I left her at your door, maybe she'd live." She gently kissed her baby's forehead. "I had nothing left. No food. No hope. Only her." Ethan stared into the fire. His house was old, his fields dry, his cupboards half empty. But he had peace. He had safety, and now both were gone. "She needs more than food," Ethan said. "She's not like human babies. Her skin's turning pale." Lyra nodded. "She needs Zarnite. It's a mineral from our world. Without it, her blood will thin, her heart will slow." Ethan stood up. "Where can I get it?" "There's some in my ship," Lyra said, her voice weak. "What's left of it? But it's dangerous. The wreck is deep in the forest near the Black Cliffs. Slaver drones searched that area. I couldn't go back." Ethan picked up his rifle. "Then I'll go." Lyra looked shocked. "Why would you risk your life?" "For us." Ethan's voice was low, but firm. "Because I've seen enough death. And I won't watch a child die on my floor. Not again." He pulled on his coat, checked the power cells in his weapon, and slipped a knife into his belt. Lyra stood too, placing a hand on his arm. "Be careful," she whispered. "They don't just kill, they take." Ethan nodded once and opened the door. The wind hit him, sharp and cold. As he stepped out into the darkness, Lyra held her baby close and stared after him. She had trusted a human with her most precious treasure, and now, that human was walking into danger. For her. The forest was quiet, but not safe. Ethan moved like a shadow between trees, rifle in hand. The moonlight filtered through twisted branches. Fog hugged the ground like it was hiding something. He was getting close. Lyra's crashed ship was supposed to be near the cliffs, half buried in earth and fire. He could smell something in the air, burnt metal, the smell of a ship that had fallen hard. Then he saw it, a black curve sticking out of the soil like a giant claw. Wires hung like vines, scorch marks covered the nearby trees. This was it. Ethan crouched low, eyes scanning every shadow. If the slavers were still watching this wreck, he couldn't be careless. He crept inside the broken ship through a hole in the side. The metal groaned under his weight. Inside, it was dark and cold. He moved fast. He found a shattered storage panel. Inside were small glowing stones, blue and green, wrapped in a silver cloth. Zarnite. Ethan grabbed as many as he could fit into his pouch. Then, a sound, a soft hum in the sky. He looked up through the broken roof. A drone. It was floating overhead, like a metal vulture. Ethan swore under his breath and backed out of the wreck. But it was too late. The drone turned. A red light flashed. It had seen him. He ran. Branches slapped his face as he pushed through the trees. Behind him, the drone's engines roared louder. A warning siren echoed through the forest. Then a blast. Laser struck a tree next to him, sending bark flying. Ethan dove behind a rock and fired. His rifle beam hit the drone's wing. It jerked, spun, but didn't fall. He ran again, zigzagging through the woods. Then a second drone appeared. They were calling for backup. If he didn't get home fast, Lyra and the baby would be next. Back. At the farmhouse, Lyra stood at the window, clutching her baby. She had a bad feeling. Something in her bones told her Ethan was in trouble. Then she saw it. A dark shape in the sky, coming closer. Not one, 3. Slaver drones. Lyra's heart raced. She ran to the door, locking it, barricading it with furniture. She placed her baby in the basket, hid her behind the fireplace wall, and grabbed a broken metal rod from Ethan's tool shed. She had no weapon, only her will to fight. The first drone hovered above the roof. A voice came from its speaker. "Surrender. The fugitives. This is your only warning." Lyra didn't answer. She waited in the shadows. The door exploded. The drone floated inside, scanning. Lyra struck from the side, hitting it with the rod. Sparks flew, but it didn't stop. The drone grabbed her with a metal claw and threw her against the wall. She groaned in pain, but she didn't stop. She stood again, eyes glowing, hands shaking, but raised. The drone came closer, then a blast from behind. Ethan burst through the back door, firing his rifle. The drone sparked and crashed into the wall. Lyra fell to her knees. Ethan rushed to her. "You okay?" She nodded weakly. "The baby? She's safe." Two more drones circled outside. Ethan handed Lyra a small Zarnite crystal. "Give this to her." "Now." Lyra ran to the baby and carefully placed the glowing mineral near her chest. The child stopped crying. Her breathing steadied. Her skin glowed brighter. She would live. Outside, Ethan aimed his rifle and fired at the second drone, hitting it in the sensor. It crashed into the barn with a loud bang. The third drone escaped, but not before flashing a red signal into the sky. "They'll come," Lyra said. "More will come now." Ethan reloaded his rifle. "Then we'll be ready." He looked at his house, broken walls, smoke rising, fear in the air, but also life, family, and something worth protecting. Ethan's farm smelled like smoke. The house was half burned. One wall was gone. His barn had collapsed where the drone crashed. His crops were trampled. But Ethan didn't care. Lyra was alive. The baby was breathing. He had saved them, for now. But he knew this wasn't the end. Standing in the doorway with his rifle, Ethan stared at the night sky. Drones don't come alone. They always report back. And that flash in the sky, that was a signal. More were coming. Maybe soldiers, maybe slavers, maybe worse. Inside, Lyra sat beside her baby, feeding her a mix of Zarnite water and crushed herbs. The baby had stopped crying. Her color had returned, but Lyra looked tired, like a storm was behind her eyes. Ethan entered. "You need rest," he said. Lyra shook her head. "No time. They will come soon. The drones were scouts. They never travel this far alone." "I know," Ethan said. "That's why I sent a signal." She looked up, confused. "To who?" "To the resistance." Lyra froze. "You were a soldier?" Ethan nodded. "Long ago, I helped refugees during the Rim Wars, smuggled families off dying planets. I still have one contact left, a man named Breck. If he's still alive, he'll help." Lyra stood slowly. "You're risking everything." "I already have," Ethan said. "They came to my home, fired on me, tried to take you and your baby. I can't ignore that." She looked at him, her voice soft. "Why? We're not even your kind." Ethan walked to the window, staring at the ruined field. "Because I know what it's like to be hunted. My sister died hiding from slavers. She was just 13. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry." Ethan turned. "I won't let that happen again. Not on my land." Just then, a reply signal blinked on Ethan's old communicator. He rushed over and opened it. Static crackled, then a voice. "This is Breck. You're alive? What the hell did you do, old man?" Ethan smiled. "Long story. I have an alien mother and child here. Slavers found them. I need help." "You picked a fight with the syndicate?" Breck laughed. "You've still got guts." "All right, I'll come, but it'll take 2 days. You better be ready." The line cut. Ethan turned to Lyra. "We've got 48 hours. She nodded. "What do we do?" The next morning, Ethan and Lyra worked together. They set traps in the woods. Old military tech Ethan had hidden long ago. They blocked roads leading to the house with broken trees and sharp metal. Ethan buried supply caches in the barn ruins, food, ammo, water. He trained Lyra to shoot an old sidearm. She wasn't strong, but she was fast and determined. At night, they slept in shifts. The baby rested peacefully, unaware of the war building around her. By the second day, they spotted movement in the hills. 3 dark ships flew low, silent and slow. "They're here," Lyra whispered. Ethan loaded his rifle and handed Lyra a blade. "They'll expect fear," he said. "Let's give them a fight instead." As the sun dipped low, turning the sky orange, the first ship landed near the field. Armored figures stepped out, slavers, wearing dark visors and shock rifles. One of them held a scanner. "She's close," he said. Ethan and Lyra watched from the trees. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but not out of options. Ethan whispered, "When I fire, run to the far side. Light the fuel drum near the fence, that'll distract them." Lyra nodded. Ethan took a deep breath, then fired the first shot. The silence before the battle was the loudest thing Ethan had ever heard. He was hidden behind the broken fence line, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the slavers marching toward his land. Their black armor reflected the dying sunlight. The syndicate had come in force, 8 soldiers, 2 drones, and a towering brute carrying a flamethrower. Beside Ethan, Lyra crouched low, her hand clutching the blade he'd given her. She was shaking, but not from fear. She was ready. Ethan whispered, "We hit fast, then move, just like I taught you." She gave a sharp nod. Then he fired. The blast struck the lead slaver in the chest. Armor shattered, body dropped. Screams followed. The squad scattered. They didn't expect resistance. Ethan rolled left, dove behind a broken tractor, and fired again, hitting a drone. It exploded in the sky, raining sparks. On the far side, Lyra sprinted through the trees, moving fast. She reached the hidden fuel drum, grabbed the torch, and, whoom, lit the fire. A wall of flame rose, cutting off half the attackers. Panic. The slavers regrouped, shouting commands. But Ethan was already on the move, circling them, using smoke and trees for cover. He picked them off one by one. But then, he heard a scream. Lyra. He turned. She was down, trapped beneath rubble. One of the syndicate brutes had followed her. He raised his flamethrower. Ethan didn't think. He sprinted across the field, yelling, drawing the brute's attention. The flamethrower turned toward him. Ethan rolled and fired, once, twice, hit. The fuel pack. Boom! The brute exploded in fire and metal. Lyra shielded herself, coughing in the smoke. Ethan pulled her out. "You okay?" She nodded, eyes watering. "I can fight." But they were both bleeding now. Only 3 slavers remained. But they were angry, and they were smart. Ethan and Lyra ran back toward the house. Inside, the baby cried. They made their last stand there. Ethan set up the final traps, flash mines, noise bombs, smoke grenades. Lyra hid behind the overturned table, blade ready. Then the final attackers charged. The battle inside the house was chaos. A mine exploded, blinding the first slaver. Lyra lunged, slashed his throat. Ethan shot the second in the knee, then in the head. The last one kicked open the bedroom door. He pointed a rifle at the baby. Ethan shouted, "No." He leapt forward. The rifle fired. Time slowed. But it missed. Lyra had thrown her blade. It struck the slaver's arm. His shot went wild. Ethan tackled him, wrestled the weapon away, and ended it. Silence. Real silence. Just the fire crackling, and the sound of the baby crying, alive, safe. Lyra collapsed to the ground, gasping. Ethan knelt beside her. "It's over," he said, barely believing it. Then, a voice on the communicator. "This is Breck. I'm overhead. Lowering now." They stepped outside. Above, a sleek ship hovered and landed beside the ruins. A man in armor stepped out. Gray hair, a scar across his face, and a warm smile. "You always did cause trouble, Ethan." Ethan laughed, bleeding and exhausted. "Nice to see you too, Breck." Later that night, under the stars, Ethan sat beside Lyra. Breck's team treated their wounds and began repairs. The baby slept peacefully in a warm cot inside the ship. "You didn't have to fight," Lyra said softly. "I know," Ethan replied. "But you did." He looked at her. "She deserved a chance, so did you." Lyra smiled, her eyes glowing in the moonlight. "You passed the first trial," she said. What trial? In my people's culture, she said quietly. A male who defends a child that is not his has the heart of a father and a warrior. Ethan said nothing, but his heart beat heavier than ever. Smoke still rose from Ethan's ruined farmhouse. The wind carried the scent of ash, earth, and something else. Something unfamiliar yet warm. Hope. For the first time in years, Ethan wasn't alone. And he wasn't just fighting to survive anymore. He was fighting for something real. For someone. For them. Inside the Resistance medship, the baby was asleep, her purple cheeks glowing faintly. Her tiny hand clutched the corner of Lyra's scarf. Lyra sat beside her, silent, staring at Ethan across the room. He looked different now. Not just the cuts on his face or the soot on his arms. Something in his eyes had changed. He looked settled, like a man who had finally found a reason to stay. An hour earlier, Breck had finished scanning the slaver bodies. He walked over to Ethan, holding a cracked data pad. You made enemies, my friend. Ethan wiped blood off his hands with a rag. I didn't start it. No, Breck nodded. But you sure as hell ended it. He tapped the screen. This is Syndicate tech. High level. The girl and her child weren't just refugees. Someone wanted them silenced. Ethan frowned. Why? Before Breck could answer, Lyra stepped forward, her expression tight. Because of who I am. Ethan looked at her. She took a deep breath. My daughter is not just any child. She is the last, living heir to House Kelvara, my world's royal bloodline. The slavers knew if she lived, their control over my people would end. Breck whistled softly. You've been protecting a princess. Ethan stared at the sleeping baby, stunned. Lyra continued. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to fear her or use her. I'm not that kind of man, Ethan said quietly. I know, she replied. That's why I left her at your door. Silence fell between them. Breck cleared his throat. Well, looks like you've got more than just a farm now. That night, Ethan stood outside the ship, leaning on a fence post that somehow survived the battle. The stars above were clear now, no drones in sight, no fire in the trees. Just stillness. Lyra stepped up beside him, wrapped in one of Ethan's jackets. Her hair was tied back, revealing a long scar behind her ear. She looked tired, but not broken. Thank you, she said softly. He didn't respond at first. Then, you don't owe me thanks. I owe you my life, she said. And my daughter's. Ethan looked down at his boots, then at her. I didn't do it for a reward, he said. Didn't even know who she was. I know. A pause. Then Lyra spoke again. In my people's tradition, when someone protects a royal child, that person is bound to her. Not by force, by choice. You can walk away. No one will stop you. She turned to face him. But if you stay, if you choose to stay, we become your family, and you become ours. Ethan's heart thudded. He had fought raiders, drones, and syndicate killers. But this scared him more than all of them, because it meant letting someone in again. It meant trust. It meant belonging. He looked at her, really looked, into those silver eyes that once trembled with fear, but now glowed with courage. I lost everything, once, he said slowly. My sister, my team, my home. After that, I shut the world out. Lyra said nothing. I never thought I'd care again, Ethan whispered. But then she cried at my doorstep, and everything changed. He turned, to her, voice low but steady. I want to stay, Lyra blinked, her lips parting slightly. I want to stay, Ethan repeated. For her. For you. Not just to protect, but to be part of it. If you'll have me. A single tear slid down Lyra's cheek. She stepped forward and gently took his hand. Then by the stars, she whispered, You are one of us now. The next morning Breck's ship was ready to leave. He had offered Ethan a place with the resistance, training, new ID, safe housing, but Ethan declined. "This is my land," he said. "Burned or not." Breck grinned and clapped his shoulder. "You've changed, old man." "Maybe," Ethan replied. "Or maybe I just remembered who I was meant to be." Breck nodded at Lyra, who stood nearby with her child in her arms. "Take care of them." Ethan smiled. "I already do." Weeks later, the farm was being rebuilt. With help from the resistance and a few alien friends, Ethan's land had crops again. The barn stood tall, stronger than before. New walls, new life. Lyra planted strange seeds from her homeworld. Bright blue flowers now bloomed around the farmhouse. Her daughter, whom Ethan now called Star, had learned to giggle. Her tiny hands reached for him every morning. And Ethan? He laughed again. He cooked meals for 3. He fixed toys. He told bedtime stories. Sometimes, when he looked at the stars, he saw flashes of the old pain. But now, beside that pain, was warmth. A purpose. A family. One night, under the stars, Star lay sleeping in her mother's arms. Ethan leaned back in a wooden chair sipping tea, his boots resting on the porch. Lyra sat beside him, her eyes half closed. She spoke softly. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Ethan looked out at the fields, glowing under the moon. "No," he said, "because everything I need is right here." And beside him, Lyra leaned her head gently against his shoulder.